Okay with that, yeah? Okay, so I'm recording this meeting now. It's a management meeting with the national community projects for the four non-for-profit projects, the National Community Law Project (CIC), the National Community Security Project (CIC), the National Public Education Project (CIC), and the One Community EBCIC. So yeah, brilliant. So we're recording this, Christopher. Nice to see you. For a change, without running for your
Yeah, good
bus.
afternoon.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, and you?
Hey,
Good.
Christopher, how
Yes,
are you
really
doing?
good.
I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah,
Nice to see you.
and nice to see you too. Nice to see you too.
Same.
All
Yeah.
right.
Excellent. Brilliant stuff. So I'm just gonna have a little conversation with Jack now because I want a bit of feedback about what's been going on because I've seen quite proactive and we're just waiting for Raquel and I think some other team members to join as well. So yeah, so if I just hand over to Jack. By the way, so on the call, by the way, is Jack and Dane and Christopher. All right, at the
All
moment.
right. All right. Yes, thank you, sir. So, as I was saying, just briefly, generally, by way of a general comment. So, Raquel is sort of the proponent for the Cardiff and Vale of Glamorgan move. So, it'd really be nice to have her on board so that she can, you know, uh, share this vision. This is a non-for-profit thing and it's going to be driven by conviction. And, we're going to have to be able to sell the vision. So it would be great if she could come on board so that she can tell us, why Cardiff, essentially. I mean, just to give us that background so that whenever, if ever, or not if, if we like decide to move forward, because this is like the startup stage, right? So if going on, we see that, okay, this is something we can actually pursue. We're going to need to win support. We're going to need to garner support. And for us to do that, we have to have a very firm grasp on the actual justification. You understand? The vision, the burden, right? So that's the thing. So everything you saw how everything we've been discussing this week has been leading up to this, sort of, so it would really be great if she could so that she could point us in the right direction. Let's see how to actually put something there because we've gotten a lot of good plans and templates and structures. Excuse me. So, but then if we're able to actually tailor this to a project, right? Fill in the variables with actual achievable stuff. It would. I think it would be. It would feel pretty good. Yeah. So I just thought that. You're on
Yeah,
mute, sir. Okay.
absolutely, Jack. I'll add my inputs shortly because there's some other things which I'm going to add into the mix in a minute. But Christopher, um, like Jack just identified, Eve said, why don't we have an understanding of why when speaking because both Jack and Raquel have been sort of taking the lead in that kind of, and Raquel's on now. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Hi,
Raquel's
Raquel.
on.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear
Yes,
you
we can hear
perfectly.
you.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Brilliant. All right then. So the conversation was just had then. So we've introduced, obviously this is a recorded meeting as well, public meeting, about the management strategy and the management team of how we're like kind of going forward. And quite a lot of interaction has been going on, which I'm really happy about. And it's being driven by the team at the moment. So what I want to do is we're going to try and gauge some strategy, and then I'll give my inputs. I'll give my inputs after, if that's okay, and the reasons why I'm looking at it in a specific way. But first off, if I think Jack got a question for you, Raquel. And Christopher as well. I'm gonna ask Christopher a question, but I'm gonna get your two's input first, and then we'll move forward from there. Is that okay?
Absolutely fine.
That's great, sir.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Okay. Raquel, yes, nice
hmm
to have you. Yeah,
Hi.
yeah. Yeah, so I was just talking with the team before you came on. Yeah, so obviously, as you've seen during the week leading up to this meeting, we've been building momentum in the direction of the Cardiff and Vale of Glamorgan needs the community, you know. And so I mean, needless to say, you've done a lot of good work in that direction. You are like the proponent of that move. So I was thinking that if you know, this is something that we're going to need to carry people along, and we are going to need to elicit funding and support by and we're going to need to like sell our vision, sort of. So I was hoping, you know, now that we're actually meeting, if you could just, you know, just I was just thinking, you know, like if someone were to ask us, this is hypothetically now, not us asking you, but like this is hypothetical, if someone were to ask us why Cardiff, you know, what's the, you know, these days everything's all about, oh, what's your passion, why is your, you know, everybody wants to know your drive, your rationale, all that. So if you could just like shed some light on that, you know, so that you know, so everything will, you know, I think that should start, so that if we're going to carry this vision, we have to own it. We have to own it. Yeah, so that's just what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, my answer to that's going to be really short. I'm not an expert on Cardiff. It's just an area that I'm getting familiar with at the moment. I'm finding out about the background.
Okay.
In terms of why Cardiff, I think that Dane had already started a focus in Cardiff. He's already got a strategy for Cardiff, although the intention is to have a nationwide focus rather than just Cardiff. But in terms of, I mean, in terms of the objectives that Dane set, he has set, I've written this down here. So he's looking at, the target audience should be of higher levels of the in areas where there's higher levels of crime, antisocial behaviour, social deprivation. Now, Cardiff doesn't stand out to be one of the most deprived areas in the UK in comparison to other places. It doesn't stand out to have the most antisocial behaviour or higher levels of crime in comparison to other places in the UK. Although the focus was already there, Dane had that focus. But in terms of crime, from what I've read, gang violence since 2021 has increased significantly and continued to increase. Antisocial behavior is another factor, which is another problem. And then social deprivation, they've got pockets of social deprivation in Cardiff. So there's a need there. There is, I mean, it's not, there's other areas that stand out more. Places like Liverpool, possibly Manchester, and areas in London probably have bigger issues, and there's a greater need for projects to intervene and fill the gaps where there's no service. But the focus was that Dane already had that focus, so we were just using, and I think he already has resources in the area or a plan. So we haven't chosen Cardiff specifically because it's for any particular reason other than Dane's focus was already there. But as it goes, there is a need. Something that I got from the needs analysis is it states that, you know, in comparison to other areas in the UK, the crime rate in Cardiff isn't significant in comparison, but there is an increase, which is a concern, which gives us a need to focus on. If that answers your question.
Oh, yes, it does. Perfectly. 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 Yes.
I mean, I had some questions for Dane around that because
Excellent.
I found that, you know, the Cardiff doesn't stand out. Something that I wanted to ask Dane, I mean, I don't know if I'm going a bit ahead of you if you're about to answer these questions, but what I found online was that you were targeting areas, urban or suburban areas where they lack adequate security provision, there's unemployed individuals seeking training, and you provide employment opportunities in the security sector. And that then moved on to what my question is that is this project meant to be like crime prevention, or is it more about security of those areas? Because it looked like you had patrol. Let me just have a look. I did write it down. Won't be a moment. So it looked like the intention of the project was to provide employment and employment skills around. I'm just having a quick look. Yeah, so the security industry offers genuine career pathways with opportunities for progression from basic security roles through to specialized positions in risk management, training delivery, and community liaison. So is this something that you've already got as a strategy, what you've already developed to be the strategy?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll address the points there which were raised. So yeah, so when we're looking at Cardiff, and you are right, Cardiff was the original pilot focus, as you know, and we had them discussions, and that was for pilot purposes. But I'm also respect as well, Jack, have gone out in Luton, which have got significant issues, and also gone out there and also kind of expanded that. So my job is to facilitate you to the best of my ability with your guidance. So when it comes to the Cardiff area, there have been an increase. There's been an increase in the crime areas, as you were saying. So I'm going to try not to reiterate too much of what you just said, but everything which you said was correct. That was meant to that's meant as the pilot in order to start that up. Now, the reason for the focus on Cardiff is because most of my teams and resources, as you correctly identified, Raquel, with your extensive experience, is to build out from that. How that works is another story. So, I'll explain this from another perspective. So, with the National Community Law Project, originally we were supposed to be setting up in Cardiff. So it seems to be a repeat of this pattern, where we was approached by law students and graduates who wanted to have experience. We were going to set up a drop-in centre. We were in lockdown. We ended up doing everything online. We ended up going national. That was not what we planned. We ended up originally planning with the National Community Law Project just to be within the Cardiff area and just maybe expand out, maybe not. It was more to do with people getting experience. So, sorry, I'm just going to take these messages off because I get messages coming through. So that was not the plan, but I believe that things are meant to happen the way they happen. So you know, and that's where the management team comes in. So where we are at the moment now with the crime element in Cardiff is there is a significant issue here. As we know from the research which you've done, Raquel, that the crime areas, which I thought was mainly young people, now we've got the research to say it's not actually young people. It's actually people from the ages of 30 to 39 who are the actual perpetrators, and then you've got the victims, which are potentially younger, who end up with them issues. That's a significant difference. In the interim, I've also spoken with James Bourne, who you're going to meet as well, who's also setting up an initiative in the city centre in Cardiff, which is a non-for-profit, in order to make nightlife and more safer for people around there by introducing marshals and everything else. Now, at the moment, what I am actively recruiting for is I'm looking for people in every single area in the UK, because I'm building up our database at the moment of people who want to get involved as volunteers in community safety from a local level. So that's each individual city in the UK. So ads are running for that now. We've also got on a remote level, or what I call a national level, of remote people who are going to work under your team to basically ensure, or under the projects team, to ensure that we've got a variety of different experiences and different knowledge coming in. Now, the knowledge point of it, so we're talking about the intervention side of it and the training side of it. In the intervention side of it is basically working with other non-for-profits and other organizations in order to be able to create that shared knowledge approach. Now, with your research, Raquel, all your research have informed me and the rest of the team about this shared knowledge approach to make sure that other third sector organizations, other businesses, other statutory organizations, such as police or crime agencies, as well as other statutory like councils and things like that everyone's got this collaborative working. Now, I think we can fit in quite comfortably there under the National Community Security Project, as well as the National Public Education Project. We can fit in quite comfortably to create them links, because what I'm tending to find now through your research, Raquel, is basically we can fit in the middle to make sure that shared knowledge is being distributed to all these different organizations, as well as gathering that knowledge, you know what I mean, in collaboration with the other partners. So that's where we are there. However, it was a good thing that Jack is from Luton at the moment, because there's a lot of things going on in Luton. A lot of things are coming out of Luton as well, which I don't need to go into too much detail about. So if we want to do a if you want to do a dual kind of pilot, we can do that. We've got the resources in place to do that at the moment, although we haven't activated them because we're still doing the management strategy. We can do that on two levels. Then we can say, okay, we've got this problem in, say, for instance, in Luton, and we got these problems in Cardiff. We can do that because we're remote, so we got that flexibility and adaptability, which is what our organisation is about. Plus, it'll also let us know different areas to begin with, so we can actually take that approach if you want to take that approach. But as for the things that driving forward, and I think the question which you asked me, Raquel, is this an intervention or is this a supportive role? We don't know. So this is the whole point of us setting it up as we're setting it up. At the moment, we've opened this up to say we are the National Community Security Project, which is here to protect communities. Now, with the researchers we're getting, which you presented us, is we're turning around and saying, okay, we know one needs to be protective, but do we do it as an intervention approach, or do we do it as a collaborative approach, or do we do both, or is there more aspects we need to bring in as we go along? My vision for this originally was to get as many neighborhoods involved in this as possible, like a neighborhood watch, a new neighborhood watch, focusing on security areas, which can have both, or can have multiple kind of streams coming into there. And it's basically making sure the residents are safer within their communities, they're fully informed, and they can make sure their communities are safe. That's the aim of the whole organization. And the same with the public education project. When we're the National Public Education Project, we're looking at these issues which are coming out, and then where are the gaps in education? Now, I'm already identifying several gaps just from the research you're all giving me. So I'm sitting, and it's quite new to me, and it's very refreshing actually to know that. And then to know that we can move in directions with specific communities as well as wider communities to enable that. So we're already at a really strong place, whether we're just local or whether we're going national. But the local thing, to start off with, what I'm interpreting what Raquel is saying, is let's start off local, let's get it right here, and then roll it out. But we don't have to just have a pilot scheme in one area. We could have 2 or 3 to start off with. We could go into Luton, we can go to a higher crime area like London, Manchester, or Birmingham, or Liverpool. So we can identify that as we go along, and then say, okay, well, this is what's going on, and there's a lot of great things going on in them places as well. How do we intervene with them as well? So we can do it that way, But it depends on what resources we got, and what allocations we got, and how the management team itself, with full authority, in order to direct this how you want to go. And that was the whole point of the way we've set up now. So the whole point is leadership. Now, the reason why this is important to me,
Dane, before you move on,
yeah.
do you mind? I'm sorry, Dane. Before you move on,
No, good.
can I ask you a question? What I'm missing here, or what I'm not getting, is the thing that's being delivered. Is it the employment creation? Is it the skills development? Is it the community empowerment? What is the thing that's being delivered, which is preventative or improving? What is that thing? Are those the things that you're seeking to deliver?
Right. Now, what I'm going to ask you there, Raquel, is I want you to elaborate on everything you just asked me. So what you've just asked me is it the employment? Is it the skill development? Is it about the community? Is it this? I want you to really elaborate on that as much as you can. There's a reason why I'm asking that. So I want you to just ask me that question, but in a broader context.
Okay. So in terms of employment creation, that can either be training, volunteering, opportunities, in terms of, I did write some things down. So the actual intervention or the improvement that we're making, what is this thing what is that? Is it training, as I say, is it volunteering opportunities? Is it employment creation? What that's what I mean by what is the intervention to
I,
strengthen the community?
And
I think, okay,
yeah,
sorry.
sorry, Jack. Yep.
No, sorry, no, that's fine. Just to support what Raquel is, I think what she means is, I mean,
You
that's
know
just
what
my,
she means. Don't
yeah,
think I don't know what she means. I've asked that question
yeah,
specifically for a reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like, so what project, what activity are we, how are we going, like that, there is the national, there is security issues, there's public education issues. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to offer to fill the gap? Something like that, I think. Yeah, because that's what we've been discussing all week. And as in, we need to identify, like, we've got it nailed down to Cardiff now, if I may, because and if earlier in the week we're like, starting from a single vicinity may be the way to go for now. Just like you said, this is at the starting stage, so we wouldn't want to bite off more than we can chew. So, so like, what exactly, what is that thing we want to offer, or rather, what's
Right.
that set of things?
So that's
And what and
different.
how is that making a change? How is that strengthening the community? What is it that we're doing that is
Right.
making a change or adding value?
Let me just answer Jack's question first. Now, you've asked me two questions there. Now, you asking me, now, from what you just said to me on the end, where you turned around and said, from the outset, from the start, basically, what are we focusing on? That's what you're asking me. Now, I can answer that, and I'll answer that in clarity at the moment. And you've just asked me what the aims are, and what the objectives are, and everything else. Yep, which you just asked me, Raquel. So, do you want me to answer that in my own opinion, or do you want me to answer that for you? So I'll answer in both. For you, it's up for you to tell me where you think you're going. That's as simple as it is. For my opinion, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting off in pilot schemes in an area or specific areas. We're going to gather information and we're going to collaborate with other organizations. Now, we don't do the collaboration, we do the direction for the other organization, and we help other people and support them within the organization in order to get these going. So first off, we need to understand what these other non-for-profits are doing, what these other our third sector companies are doing, what these other people who we're collaborating with are doing. Sorry, I did just turn this off. I apologize.
So that's all right.
I'm going to just let me turn my phone off. I'm so sorry because
No.
I did turn it off, I thought, but I didn't. So back onto the subject. So it's for you to decide. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way is because we're all leading by example, and we can only lead by example if we're leading by example. So I'm trying to set the pace myself by recording meetings and showing what people are doing, the same as Jack, same as you, Raquel. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way is because if we all know how we lead by example ourselves, then we're going to have more success by leading by example with other people. It can't be all about what my thoughts are about. That's because I've done it. I've done it for the last 5 years, and what happens is we become too restricted and sometimes too narrow because then, I'm objectively looking at, now that is my job, but I need guidance myself to go that way. So what we're looking at the moment, so if we just focus on Cardiff, we know that there is a crime issue. We know that there is a crime issue with the security. We also know is there background coming through from somewhere? This is really important. I'm trying to get my point across. So, yeah. So right. So from the Cardiff point of issue, which I know of, and I do know about other places as well, but from the Cardiff point of view, we know there is a problem with crime. We know there is a problem with people feeling safe. We know there is a problem with communities starting to not feel confident in and having to self-reflect on the public authorities' way of dealing with things. We know that is happening. So our job is to find out through the research which we've got what we can do, how we can intervene, and then what solutions we can create. But this isn't just about me. and I've said this from the outset, and this is what everyone's got. No, I can take leadership all way, and I can dictate to all of you exactly how I want it to be. The only problem is it's going to be ineffective, because you're only going to be taking one person's point of view. The reason for this collective, the way this organization is to take on other people's point of view, whether we agree or whether we don't, and see, can it fit into this narrative? So the security narrative is, do people feel safe in the UK? Ethnic minorities, disabled people, by the way, disabled people now have raised from 6% to 27%, as you know from the research which Raquel have provided, to 27% of people getting assaulted. So now more disabled people are getting assaulted than robbed. So they're just easy targets. We also know there's a big increase, and these are protected people, by the way, what I'm talking about. We also know there's a huge increase in racial discrimination. Whether we choose to agree with that or not, the statistics prove there is an increase within that. We also know there is an increase in elderly isolation, which can also prove other problems. We also know there's an increase in crime. So we know all this stuff is happening. So instead of us trying to get too specific about everything, let's look at it at the broader context of this. Then this is just for the security. What do the communities need? Because each community is going to be different. They will have commonalities, as I said from the outset. But then what do these specific communities need? And then what can we do to facilitate that? Now, luckily, we've got all the research for that because of Raquel. Raquel's put all our research together and scoped all our research together. So we know what the problems is now. So if we're focusing on the security side, we know that there's an increase in knife crime. I ignorantly believed it was younger people, but we're not. We know that it's between 30 and 39 of the main perpetrators, although that varies, but the majority of perpetrators are between the ages of 30 and 39, the people who are actually attacking people. And then we know the victims are usually younger. And then we know there's also an increase from 6% to 27% on disabled people who are just literally being victims. And I've spoken to several this week, which I'll bring in to speak to the team at some point, who are being attacked. We know there's massive problems with race and religion. We know this because statistics are telling us this. We've got all the research for that. So then what we do, couple it together, and then we turn around and we say, okay, what solutions would be better for here? So I know, interesting, if you get all the community together, or you get a majority of the community together, who have these issues, and not just have these issues, but have people or their family members or the close friends of people who have these issues, they're going to unite against the problems which we're having. We know this. That's the whole point of these non-for-profits. If you get enough of a group of people together, then we can start making changes. Then it's how the implementation starts and how it goes along. And this is just specifically, I'm still talking about the security project. And there's a reason why I'm saying that at the moment. So we're talking about the security project there where you know, people are feeling safe. They got kids who are going out in there. Do their kids feel safe? So all this stuff these people are knowing is going on because they're seeing it. Plus they're hearing it on the news and everything else. They know that all these issues are happening. Are my kids safe to go out? Am I safe to go out? Is my grandmother safe to go out? Is my mother? You know, what's going on here? Is there something going on in that community at the moment? Because I've watched this on the news, something's going on the local news. You know, is my family safe? So this is the feedback which we're looking at, and then we turn around and we find the solutions. Now, like I said, I can dictate you. I can turn around and say, yeah, we need street marshals in every street. We need to sign up everybody to a kind of national community security project safety team. We need to put in a group of people in each individual community who allocates down responsibility for their actual community, and they oversee that project under our project. We need to make sure that we're engaged with the youth workers, and we're engaged with the community workers, and engaged with people directly, that if they got security issues and they're younger and they feel vulnerable, that we've got that access. And that all parents can be able to talk together when they've got issues with their kids, or they've got issues with when it's safety issues. Elderly people, you know, more check-ins, you know, we can make sure that people in different streets, we can get on, we're fine-tuning that much, or different people in communities can check up on elderly people. Does it need that? Do you see? So I can dictate that all day long. What I'm trying to say is different communities have different needs. Some people might more want to be checked on every day. Some people might not want to be, we might go overboard with that. And the balance is us all being able to communicate together with the knowledge that we got, and then we direct and we move forward there. Does that make sense? So that's just the National Community Security Project, because that's been highlighted quite a bit. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I think that we're at the very beginning where we're looking at the opportunity and the need and then the service gap. But I think what's going to really determine it's something that's out of our control that isn't going to be helped by research is that when it comes to funding is only available for certain activities. So there's certain funding available to certain activities. So when you're picking and choosing which need that you're going to meet, it's going to be based on where the funding is. So it's going to be a combination of two.
Okay. Well, this is something which I'm gonna say to you all right now. And I'm gonna be really honest with you. The funding is important because we need certain things to go, but I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I wouldn't make that the driving factor, because that's where every single organization, especially non-for-profits, have gone wrong. Let's not make that the defining factor. Now, the fundraising side of it, we're talking about fundraising just specifically. If we create a product that's good enough, we'll have residents who'll invest in that. They could pay £5 a month.
Yeah.
By direct debit. Now, if you imagine the amount of residents which we've got, and we're providing that good product and that good service as a non-for-profit, which they know is going back in the community and they're contributing to, we could do that. £5, £10. Now you imagine a couple of 100,000 people signing up to that. So, the problem, this is where it goes wrong with the non-for-profits. And I know this because I run the National Community Law Project, sponsoring myself primarily for 2 years with my own money for my other businesses. So I understand that, yet we managed to help hundreds and hundreds of people and get people into the jobs they wanted to get into because they would be volunteers of that project. If we get into the fact of where do we make it economical, we'll go down the same route as everybody else, and especially now in the UK. I'm not going to go into too much about my political views with the UK because it's completely irrelevant. But I am going to tell you, statistically, a lot of businesses leaving the UK right now, and that's for-profit. Non-for-profit companies are really struggling. We're trying to get grant funding and everything else because they're solely relying on grant funding. We don't have to be that in any of the organizations, even down to the public education project. We can charge for classes, providing it's reasonable and providing it's necessary for what the people need to know. We don't have to restrict ourselves just to funding. The reason why I highlighted the funding there is because I know it's a critical factor, and that some people need, but it's not the only route. There's other routes.
And before, I was just going to ask you, without getting ahead of what you've discussed. So we talked about opportunity, need, funding, and how that impacts the choice of needs that we target. The other thing that I was going to say is in relation to resources. Do we have any current resources at the moment that may give us a competitive advantage?
I think the resources which we got, and this is why it's key that I'm doing it this way, is the people. I think that's the resource. And I'm making it that way. And please let me know, because I see a couple of you are confused like that. But it's always the people that drive the organization. When we're talking about resource wise, we already know that I went to Cardiff. I've also been to Ely. I've been to a couple of, well, you wouldn't know that because I haven't uploaded it. There's other things I've been doing. Going around getting people involved, which I'm very used to. We also know that Jack have gone to Luton and already defined pricing and rooms and everything else there. Although I still yet to upload that. But that is where we are. But then we also know that what are the resources we're going to need. So the resources we're going to need if we're going to deliver online live training is a live trainer. We're also going to make sure that it hits a certain market. That can be dealt with. That's not a big issue. We're not looking at thousands of pounds. We're looking at maybe a couple of £100. That's my job. I'll go out and I'll seek that out and I'll find out where that needs to be. And then we get the people on board to actually pay for that training. And if they don't pay for that training, we have ongoing training where people can download it over a period of time. So then the more videos we upload over a period of time, the more money the organizations make, which goes back into the community or goes back into our project to make sure the community sustain itself.
But you know, when it comes to training, I'm not trying to put a dampener on things. I'm just saying
No,
that
I'm
in terms
listening.
of our direction. When it comes to training, say for example, you offer training which is going to improve somebody's employment prospects. That's the idea, to equip people with skills. When you're talking about the unemployed, we're talking about 16 to 17-year-olds that are maybe not in education, not training, the 16, 17-year-olds. Then you've got 16 to 24-year-olds. Then you've got single mothers who've not been in work because they've been raising children. Then you've got people who are disabled, who are not employed because they're disabled. And then you've also got another long-term unemployed. So these kind of people have different needs. So if you had, even if you had a really good training program, you might have to add something else like mentoring to get a in order for a disabled person to have equal opportunities to use the training, you may have to get a mentor in addition to a trainer. You may have to design the training package to suit different people's needs. So this is all about still talking about who are we targeting? So again, we're looking at targeting specific demographics, but
Yeah.
it is gonna narrow down when we're targeting people, what their needs are, how people have different needs. So just saying that it's fair enough to target unemployed, but when we're talking about unemployed, we're talking about a real spectrum of people, not just people who have recently left their job and their employability is quite
And
high.
that's not what I said. And that's not what I said or what I believe, obviously. And
Hmm.
thank you for that feedback. It's not
Hmm.
it's not a criticism. I'm just
Hmm.
making it very clear. My highlight is needs, is non-educational. That's funding. That's a funding aspect. So the funding comes from either job centres or the grants we put in for and everything else. That's also a funding aspect. Disability people, we also are close partners with accessibility partners who are the leading, and obviously you wouldn't know this yet, but who are the leading supporters of people with disabilities. We also look at people from the ages ranges 16 to 17, which have got high needs and which has funding available for, as well as being able to provide a discounted learning for between the ages 24 to 25. And then we've got the other age ranges as well. So this is not something I'm not unfamiliar with. It's something I'm very, very familiar with. We've already got those partners in place, including CSC3 in Cardiff specifically, which is the charity connection for all of them. But and this is where we get all the knowledge from. So what you're highlighting, Raquel, is the fact that we need to be able to adapt our understanding. I've got less than a minute, Jeff, so we'll probably have to log back in a minute. My fault. I still haven't upgraded, and there's a long story to that. But anyway, from what you're highlighting is really, really good because it gives us a chance to think and it gets us to know exactly what the direction is. So I'm not disputing that at all. What I'm saying is basically there's certain accessibility needs which we'll have to draw down funding for, or proportion of funding, or work with job centres for, or Department of Work and Pensions, as well as working with other organisations and other charities. This is about the collaboration working in order so we can all fulfil needs together. And then when we're going into the charging model, and like I was explaining earlier on, we can move forward. And yes, Chris, I did say so. If